few days ago, I was sitting on the couch here at my house in between some mentoring sessions. And, you know, on that particular day, I didn't really have the energy to sort of do something very constructive. So just like a lot of us do, sort of picked up my phone, open, I don't know, remember it was Facebook or Instagram, maybe Facebook, and just started scrolling. Probably the worst use of my time. But, we all get stuck there sometimes. And I was noticing, someone not quite a friend, but sort of maybe a colleague or someone I knew from a long time ago. I'm just kind of looking at his post, and I don't know, just something like rubbed me wrong about the post. Like a lot of things on social media, it's sort of like we're showing sometimes the best of us. Sometimes people show the worst in them. I don't know, but we like to tell people what we're doing or what we've done, and so it can look a little bit like bragging or something. So maybe that's what triggered me. And I noticed myself just in my head, just sort of start to criticize this person. It was just sort of, wasn't like heavy criticism, just like kind of critical, like it just felt a little bit fake to me, in the moment. And whether it was or not, I have no idea. Right? Just sharing how I felt in the moment. And then, of course, because I value looking at, I don't know, my mind when it's being not only ridiculous, but when it's being, I don't know, angry or frustrated, or in this case, judgmental, right? Because automatically in that moment, I could see, oh, that completely changed my mood. Like I was suddenly in a bad mood. And it had nothing to, meaning like no one else got harmed from that thought. It was just me with my, silly judgment, critique of this person. And, a good mood kind of turned a little bit dark for a moment. But either way, I noticed the judgment, and I just sort of asked a question, which I like to do with myself when I'm either struggling with something, or a, destructive emotion comes or something, or some kind of extra judgment that's not needed. And again, to say here, the reason for the question is so I don't then turn the arrow around and aim the judgment to myself, because I've been doing that my whole life, and that also doesn't work, right? So, when I catch myself in a strong, judgment that is leaning towards the critical, right, a negative judgment, I just kind of ask, well, what's that about? Is that true? Is that really how this is? And of course, for me, I don't know for you, but for me personally, that doesn't turn the arrow of judgment back on me as an identity. It just turns it into a question, a way of looking at, well, how is that? And is that correct or not? Right. So there's not even a judgment if it's correct or not. But I noticed then a process after that, right? So a process ensued, just sort of like, yeah, that's not quite right. I mean, I think this particular person they're just sharing something really, really sweet, and they're really engaged in sort of altruistic activities. Wonderful. If that's really how it is, wonderful. Like I should really feel joy in that. So, in that particular moment, I was able to turn my mind a little bit more to rejoicing, whether it's, fake or not, didn't really concern me, just assuming it's not fake, and just rejoice in the person, right? And what I also noticed in that moment was kind of, something I often do, which is I seek to, when I'm able to get out of my judgment about a person, I seek to see a more complete picture of them. And this is something I've been doing for many years, I think mostly due to some practices in the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, where we meditate on equanimity with 3 different figures, and we work with our biases. We work with someone we really like. We work with somebody we have a difficulty towards, or we don't like. And we work with someone we have indifference towards. And of course, these 3 kinds of relationships play out in many ways in our life. And part of this particular equanimity meditation is we question those biases. So I think from doing that for many years, it sort of created this way of opening up to a more complete picture of a person, or at least giving that a chance, at least trying to see that. And for me, right away, that really affects my judgmental mind, which often is narrowing someone into, a category. There's these three, obviously, likable, dislikable, or, I don't care about this person, whatever, indifferent, but also just, more specific judgments depending on the person or what's going on. But either way, I think, how to put it, it just made me think about this question of like, well, why is it so easy? I'm guessing I'm not alone in this. Why is it so easy for us to criticize someone rather than see them in their completeness? That completeness also is a big one, because it's not just like one thing. It means like this person is a changeable, evolving being, where we're seeing a very small percent of someone, right? And so it's very difficult to see the completeness of that person. But when we seek to do that, not only does our critique dissolve, and we kind of see the faults in critiquing others excessively, but it also opens up a lot of compassion, right? And compassion isn't like, here it's not pity, obviously. It's not sort of compassion towards a certain aspect of them. It's just compassion towards the completeness of ourselves and others, right? And I don't know, every time that gets triggered for me, in this case, it was through, this critique of this person and opening up that critique. But every time that gets triggered for me, it's much easier to just be in contentment. It's much easier to accept things. It's much easier to just let things be, right? And let people be. Now, of course, there are things to change. There are valid critiques of things. And, if something is harming someone else, it's okay to critique that, right? And we can try to change that in a positive way. But what I'm talking to here is just what I see so much of in myself, and definitely on social media, is just we love to critique. It's sort of like some lifeblood of our entertainment, like our base entertainment, is to critique others, is to critique everything, right? And critiques get clicks, on the internet, all of that. So I think this is quite challenging and worth working on, because I think there is something like very primal to it for us. I mean, I know social scientists have invented this term, like a negativity bias, that like we tend to have that bias. And I don't know if I agree with that. I can kind of see the truth in that, but I think, whatever we cultivate, whatever we put energy into, is the bias we're going to have. And in this case, it's sort of talking about a compassion that's not biased, right? That's just open to how ourselves and others are evolving and changing. And that doesn't mean we lose discernment, right? Discernment can be in there. I actually think the discernment can be more sharp, right? But anyways, that's about it. Just wanted to share that with you. And, as always, just hear your feedback and reflections. If this is something you also catch yourself in and you want to change, try that. Try to just sort of see more of the person. And that might have to be more specific at first. Like, you just actually have to work at seeing more of the person than what is appearing to you, right? And then over time, it becomes a little bit easier, because we can kind of like see, as humans, just as sentient beings in general, we're not that different, right? And so you can start to use those generalities to, abide or bask in the completeness of oneself and others. So anyways, as always, I love to hear from you. If this is resonating, as I said, if you have any ways you work with this, or if this is helpful, feel free to comment if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, somewhere else, feel free to reach out at scotttusa.com. While you're there, you can also download some free guided meditations, sign up for my newsletter. I send out content bi-monthly, and just be in touch. Thanks so much, everyone.